This video is going to be what we went over, which is taking your drawings and clear cutting them in Photoshop. So I've got these two drawings that I'll go through, and then I'm going to place them into this image here. So I'll start with the first one. So here we're in the layers, so I can go Command A or select all. I can go Command X, which is cut. I go to my channels. The first thing I do is I come down here and I make a new channel. I paste it, and then I go Command L, which is the levels, which is the same as going up here, image adjustments, levels. So I can see from the histogram I don't really get a solid white till I get here. So I work with the outside ones before I play around with this middle slider. The black, it's not too bad, I'll just bring it in a little bit. So all this is doing is giving more contrast. The more I push these together, the more contrasty, but the more this starts to become pixels, the black and white. So I'll try it about there, but this image isn't too bad. I'm not worried about the loss of detail too much. Actually, maybe I'll bring it back here, so there is a wee bit of detail in here. Don't play with the output levels, we're only working with the input levels, and that's because if I had the output, if I move this here, you're essentially saying there's no white in this image. It's from black to a kind of mid-grey. So we don't need to use those. I'll go OK. The main tools here are dodging and burning. At the moment, the burn tool is there, and on the burn tool, you only work with the shadows, so it leaves the whites alone and it tries to darken the blacks. The exposure is how heavy duty that is going to be when you clean it off, but I'm going to go to dodge. And dodge, we're working with the whites and leaving the blacks alone, so we only work with highlights. You can see here it's on 5%, it's pretty low. I'll try it on 11. The brush is nice and soft, and I use the square right and left brackets to make the brush bigger or smaller. And you can see faintly it's going through here. I don't do a whole lot of rubbing, I kind of do a little shake, or just kind of quickly drag it through and trying to build up. I'm trying to get the whites but disrupt the blacks as little as possible. Once I've got it the way I like it, some of these other areas I'm just going to go normal paintbrush, click it so the foreground's white, and I'm going to take these out. I'm going to change it to a brush of about 85, just so it's got a hard edge and I don't have to worry about a soft brush interfering with these other images. And okay, I'll leave all of that. Now I go Command I, which is the same as just going image adjustments, invert. Sometimes at this stage, if you haven't done a great job, you can see it in the black, and you can still go and use dodging and burning and levels at this stage. Once I like what I've got, come down to the selection tool and I load it. So I click it, back to my layers, make a new layer, and I've got this colour here, foreground and background. So if I want to, and I'll just show you, I'll just pick a different colour for the background. Oops. So if I hold down on a Mac, Option Delete, on a PC you'll be using Alt Backspace. It fills with the foreground colour. Command Delete on a Mac or Control Backspace fills with the background colour. it's just a fast way to do it. Command D, if I click it, gets rid of the selection. So I've got that, and I'm just going to jump in here, and I'm going to work on this one, doing the same thing. You can see there's a lot more grey in the pencil sketch, and there's all this kind of darkness because it's not a very good photo, but same thing. This time I'm just going to use the quick keys. Command A to select it all, Command X to cut it into the channels, new channel, Command V to paste it, Command L to bring up the levels. You can see here, black a bit, and this grey is quite nice and subtle, so I'm going to go to the dodge, and I could probably, once I get into these grey areas, this could actually be a wee bit less, so we'll take it down to 5 and see if I can build it up without interfering too much with these kind of grey areas. It's good enough. Get a white paintbrush now, and I can just knock out all of this. I could do the same thing by just selecting around it all with the selection tool and filling it with white. There we go. Command I. It's not too bad. I'm not going to play around with it. Or maybe there's a little white bit up here, so I'll just go to burn. Yep, fine. Now down to the selection tool again. Select, back to my layers, new layer, Option Delete, Command D. So I'm going to pull these over, and that's just so I can get the black arrow tool and drop it on that layer. So I've got the 2 of them there, and pull that down and just layer by layer. I'll drop them onto this guy, click on this again. Actually, I'm just gonna leave it nice and big like that and see what we can do. So I've got 2 here, so I'll just differentiate them by going Command and this. So Command for the blue, Command, Shift keeps the transparency, and Delete. So on a PC it's going to be Alt, Shift backspace. So I'm going to leave the purple one nice and big. The blue one I'm going to bring down in size a wee bit though. That's it, so it seems to be on there. So now I've got these things both with a really nice element of transparency. Now the thing that I'll show you here is I'm just going to click on the athlete, I'll lock him, and I'm just going to pick a selection tool, the brush, and then I'll go select subject. It should go through and do a reasonably good job of masking. So I'll hit the quick mask. I'm going to make a new layer, drag it behind, and I'll chuck a gradient in there. So now with this, and also because I've got the mask here, I can start to do a few kind of tricky things. So if I Command, click on this mask, you'll see I'll get the selection, but then I go to a different layer. So I'm going to come up and go to the purple one here. I'm going to go layer mask, but I'm going to go reveal all. This keeps it nice and plain. Now I know black is going to block it out. So if I go D, just hit the D key, that means this is pure black and white. X, we'll swap them around each time I hit X. So I get a paintbrush tool. In this case I might soften it a wee bit. Bring that size down. And I'll come and have a look. So I can start to do a few little things like I can say, okay, within this selection, so now I'm on that mask, black blocks out, so I'm going to block it where it kind of goes over the yellow t-shirt. So I'm going to try and clean up this t-shirt a bit. I can actually be reasonably rough because I can come back X to swap those around with white and I can paint it back in. That way I can get it right up to the yellow t-shirt. Not going to go over nothing's going to happen when I go over the arm because it's all within this selection. So there's a little bit there where I could make a small brush and go in and try and paint in that little bit around the collar. I can also go select inverse. So now that's selected the background, not overhang, and with black, I'm going to rub out this. That's actually the blue drawing that you can see there. So the purple starts on the arm and runs up through the head. Select inverse, swaps that selection around, so now it's back to working just within the figure. And what I might do is I might get a nice, completely soft brush, nice and big. I'm going to put not the flow, the opacity down a bit. And I'm trying to soften it around here. So we can see it's here and then it starts to blend in. Almost looks like it's coming out of his ear at the moment. I'm going to go Command D. We can do the same thing with the blue. I'm going to have a look here. So this blue goes behind, but I want this blue to come over the top. So I can do the same thing with this. Because it's got that transparent background, I can go Command, click on it. I can come back up to the mask up here. And I'm just going to make that brush a bit harder and a bit smaller. And I can paint it with black, except I want to take it back up to 100. So now what you're ending up with, if I go Command H, this is a good way, if it gets complex with all those dotty lines, go Command H, and that hides it, but it's still active, so I can still come in here and make changes if I want to. So now you have some that go behind and some that kind of sit over the top. And the same thing here, some of these bits here I can just go Command, go to the blue layer, mask, reveal all, and then with black, I might say, okay, I don't want it to go over the thigh, but I do want it to be just on the outside there, or block this one, but not block this one. And so you start to get these moments, and actually I'll do one more, click back on him for a minute, and I'll come back up to the purple, and I'm going to, nice soft brush, I'm going to run a line down his leg, 100%. So it's almost going to work like a highlight a wee bit. So you can get the complexity into these images where it's kind of like it comes over but then it disappears, and it uses the back of that leg as a mask, so you can kind of stop and control where these things go. I'm just going to click back on it because I think back on this mask, I think it looks a bit awful actually when it's over his face. I'm just going to get rid of all of that stuff and keep it nice and clean. But again, I could just swap it around, X, so it's white, and bring it a little bit back onto the head if I want. I'll do that. I'll have it coming over a little bit. All of these things here, the same thing. I'm being able to control it. So Command H, I can see I've still got my mask there, but this time I'm on the blue, and change it to black. Block this one, but leave some of them. So I do something like that. So you end up with this kind of wiggle that comes over the arm. And even though there's no selection, I might say, okay, I'm going to block this one, make the brush a bit smaller, so it looks like it's kind of on the yellow of the t-shirt, and then it stops when it hits his arm. And this one here, again with the black, I might mask it so it just seems to be on his arm. And this one does look a little bit odd, so I'm just going to get rid of that altogether. So controlling it, do you want it to come over the label or just over the t-shirt, or do you want it to stay so it's just on the green of the pants? Lots and lots of control. Command D, hide that selection, and so we start to get a far more interesting image appear, as it's not just layer upon layer. These things are all now starting to entangle.